This is adorable. This is nice.
Well, you
Nice
say
little
that.
tube.
Hayden's about to sit between you two. So.
Oh, fine with that.
Good.
Come in. Let's
Come in.
More the merrier.
Come.
Yeah, no, John, the surround sound is amazing.
It's gonna be great.
So here we are, nerdly out loud at the Romford Horrific Film Festival with some familiar faces once again. I mean, John, I'm getting kind of sick of talking to you, but how are we anyway? How's today been? You've got one more to show, 1-star reviews still to show, but you showed the milk situation this morning, and we have a bit of a collective mix from both shorts. So introduce yourselves, what you did on each film, and we'll start there.
I'm Amelie Leroy. I'm in 1-star review as one of the actors.
I'm Olivia Vidu. I'm the costume designer for both of the shorts.
I'm Simon Dartman. I was the producer and story writer for 1-star review.
I'm Hayden Morley. I'm one of the two writers on 1-star review.
I'm Harry Metcalf. I was the other writer on 1-star review.
I'm John Farrer. I was the director and editor, wasn't I? Yeah, I was the editor. I wasn't a producer. I was just there on 1-star review and the milk situation.
So you guys are probably aware of what's been going on with the cinema, and the Premier Cinema used to be the Premier Cinema, but obviously now it's closed, and the guys are bringing it back as the Lumiere, and this is our first time showing anything. So how does it feel being one of the first sets of shorts or features to be shown up on the screens in what is going to be the Lumiere?
It's exciting. It's gorgeous. We were just talking about how good the sound is in here.
Oh, the surround sound is amazing. It's really creepy as well.
It is.
Yeah.
It's so weird, like, for, as well, like, for all the short films we make, we normally just have to watch them on our phones and laptops. So seeing them in the cinema is always equally terrifying as is it, like, exciting. But like, no, it's been glorious. It's good quality.
Where did these movies come from? Let's go there. Where did Milk Situation start? Where did 1-star review start? What was the initial conception of these two shorts?
Sure, I'll briefly explain the milk situation, and then I might let you, Simon, explain 1-star review, because that's your baby. So the milk situation was originally going to be a completely different film that was part of a larger anthology film, but then a lot of things fell through. We lost the location. It was meant to be on a spaceship. It was going to be something really weird. And then we still had all the crew and that booked in for the day of filming, so we had a couple days to rewrite something else, gather costumes, put Liv through last-minute stress as always to find non-outfits and all sorts of bits. And we put that together very quickly, and it was just a sort of excuse to make something with as much action as possible. And we shot that in a day, which was kind of nuts, and that's kind of it. There's no deep meaning to it. But then 1-star review. Yeah,
so I was at another festival, and film festival, and I was watching a chef bludgeon his wife to death because she'd been cheating on him, and I thought to myself, well, chefs are pretty highly strung, and they're perfectionists, and they've worked for years to get their craft right. They must hate it where people come in, have one small thing go wrong, like a fork missing or sitting by a door, and then go away and just completely flame them on social media. So I thought, why don't I make a film about a chef who finds these people and then corrects them, shall we say. And then I thought, you know what would be really funny is if I called the film 1-star review. And then I never made a film before, so I looked for some writers, and that's where I found Harry and Hayden, and then we put a script together, and then through that we then found John and all these other lovely people.
What was the wildest thing you wrote while prepping this movie and getting the story right? Because you could pretty much go anywhere with this. What would you say was maybe the wildest thing that maybe didn't even make it into the film, but one of those ideas that just resonated?
I mean,
so,
come on, sorry.
So on 1-star review, so the short that we made is it's based on a story that I wrote, and that has a number of other elements in it. And probably my favourite one is that the chef finds out that someone who's been to his restaurant is actually diabetic, and they complained because they'd been given a sugar dessert, and so he looked at the till receipts or whatever, and he found that they'd ordered the sugar dessert. So they'd ordered it and then gone home and complained about it. So he made a very sugary looking dessert, but he actually found a chemical compound that is the opposite of that. And then he delivered it to their door. So then when they went inside, ate it thinking it was sugar, and pre-injecting themselves with insulin to offset that, it sent them the other way and killed them by hypoglycemic shock. So that's pretty wild. So.
And why didn't that make it in?
Well, it took me 10 minutes to explain it, so the film would have been about an hour. So.
I was saying that throughout like all the drafts and stuff and different versions of the story for 1-star review, there were so many different kills. Like a kitchen is like full of death traps, and it kind of just, I think it boiled down to a little bit of budget by the end, because we wanted to fry people's faces in deep fryers and stuff like that, and there was just some logistics of that became really difficult to do on a small budget, but.
And how did you go about getting your cast together, and why would you do this?
Yeah, Emily, why did you do this, Emily? Why are you doing this?
Who wouldn't want to work with John? Because we worked together before. I mean, back in the days.
Yeah, it was like 8 years ago, and we've been trying to work together forever, and the stars never align. And they kind of didn't for this, because you were meant to have more, but then you had another shoot and everything.
I had something else, and I couldn't do the main part, but I was still part of it, which was so much fun. And it was a lot of improvising on the day as well, where you're like, why don't you say that at the end as well? And let's see a different reaction, or maybe this, and that's what I love about John and working with you, just like that improvisation, and you never know what's going to happen.
So what's the one thing that you maybe improvised, but like didn't think would last, didn't stay in the final cut or anything, but you see it and you're like, I did that.
Well, no, I was just surprised because at the end, I mean, there was a different scene with me being outside and locking the door, wasn't there? So something was cut out where it was.
We went through different versions of. Sorry to speak over your answer a little bit, but if you remember, we talked a lot about whether or not her character was a villain as well, and it's still kind of left intentionally ambiguous. And I think that's, if there is alternate takes or anything that was cut, it was stuff that were maybe. Was it suggesting too explicitly that she is a villain, she is in on this murderous rampage. And so I remember we played a bit with that, with improvising how far we take your suspicious behavior.
And I was kind of a bit disappointed when you were like, you're not a villain. And I was like, what? But
don't tell anyone, it's still ambiguous.
I am. But it was nice to try it out, just even one line in different ways, and then to see what John picks is always interesting.
Yeah, because I never know what I'm doing and what I'm going to pick until I get to editing. So.
There you go again, putting yourself down, by the way.
Shit.
I think on that particular element, the balance ended up being perfect because, there's a couple of moments. Certainly, the first bit, there's a bit of ambiguity over the killer, but then at the end and kind of a couple of lines at the end, I know that people who have watched it have come up to me and asked the question, "Oh, wait a minute, was Tina complicit?" And so I think you just got that exactly right, and it was brilliant the way it ended up.
Yeah, that was fun.
Indie filmmaking is a little bit more of a serious question, I guess, but indie filmmaking, it does take a bit of a village. It takes a lot of people to be part of the project and to show their passion. I want to go through each of you. What particular skill or trait do you think you guys possess that lend to this industry, to getting the job done? Like, what do you think you're particularly good at and you bring to the table? Bit of a serious question, but
Do you want to go down this way?
yeah, go for it.
I think I'm quite good at networking. I'm not sure. I never thought I was, and then the amount of people that keep coming back to work on our no-budget films just for like the experience and the fun. And obviously, I'm always doing it with the offer that if they need help with anything, I'm at the drop of a hat, I'm there to help out everyone in return as much as I can. So I'd say that's kind of how you navigate the indie scene, because you're never going to have a budget that you want, and so you've got to make friends and you've got to help each other out, and never be jealous as well. Always cheer each other on. I think that's really important.
Something that very much gets lost in the film industry.
It's weird. It's an art form and it's treated as competitive, and it's just like, no. Why would you do that? Why would you want to shoot down any of your friends that maybe have made it further than you in the industry, and they might end up making films that you want to see? That's a great thing, even if you have to think of it selfishly like that. Yeah, it's always a good thing.
So many friends, like even one guy's director who's done some fairly up there stuff, especially for like obviously where we are still quite low down. But he came around to my flat I live with one of the actors in this and another one as well, and we spent about half an hour telling him how good this advert he'd done was, because he was like, yeah, and we were like, but it was amazing, it was this because you did, and that spawned this whole thing, and he was unaware of how decent a job he'd done. But it was like, you have no idea, like we loved it, everyone else loved it, and so it was kind of, yeah, and it felt nice to do that. And also, yeah, there's not enough of that going around, of just beefing up all your friends and things that make stuff, because that's we all do it for the love of it, not because it's competition. So do it more often.
But quickly on that, and we will carry on, but quickly on that, flip that to the other side. You'd be that guy. If you were getting showered with praise, you as a creator would also be like, no, it's not that good. It's not that good.
He is that guy. They're both that guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Compliments are bad.
No. Compliments are not bad.
If someone tells me that someone has said something nice about the film, I'm like, oh, that's great. But if they say it to my face, I'm like, fuck off.
At the end of the day, filmmaking is hard at any level, absolutely any level. Obviously, the more money you've got, the less issues you've got, but it's hard at any level. So take the compliments, because you guys have made your projects, you've made your shorts, and the 2 shorts that were shown today are absolutely fantastic. So take those compliments, not trying to upset you or anything. So let's carry on.
Thank you.
I'm leaving. I don't want to be.
Yep.
Yeah, I think writing's probably my only skill. I don't really have any practical skills on set. I've done a little bit of acting, but when it comes to writing, I think versatility and kind of complementing others when I'm co-writing, always coming back to structure and character development and an arc, and not getting too lost in the moment, or, you know, in this case it was adapting a short story that Simon had already written, and trying to condense that into something that could work into 10 minutes with another person, and then John coming on board, adapting to his kind of wants and needs, but having that your own voice and trying to get that through when there's a lot of ultimately compromise, and watching your baby be kind of slowly killed in many different ways. This was Simon's baby. So.
I'll quickly speak to Hayden as well, because obviously I don't get much of a chance to sit with another writer and write some things like this. I've sat with John a couple of times and other directors and things, but never have I really been able to sit with an actual writer's writer and go through stuff together. And you were right on that aspect of complimenting other people, because just the way that film has worked for me in the past, it's very slapdash, very kind of practical, very, I know what I can do practically and budget-wise before we even start. So there's no dreaming of it. There is just kind of getting certain parts and hitting certain beats, whereas I know, and again, my stuff, kind of my things that I watch are also quite slapdash and quite fun and rough in that aspect. But you're much more of an, I feel like saying auteur is it has such a charge to it, but I don't mean it in a bad way. More that you watch so many different things to me in so many different ways, that the two of us working together was so lovely, because we had completely different references for stuff, and yet it worked and it complemented itself nicely, because we were able to take things where you were using words I'd never even heard of and bring them to this thing. And with the two of us together, I think the product we got, I think I'm quite happy with it, because it was both of us shining through, I think.
Oh, thanks, man.
See, you come to Nerdly for the therapy.
I'll second, third that, I think, at this point. One of the reasons when I was looking at the writers to work with, I wanted to work with Hayden and Harry together, is that they have very different and very complementary styles, and exactly as Harry said, he's incredible multitasker, imagination, quirky out the box thinker, and has some great ideas, but really, really fast, and actually having Hayden there, who's considered and structured, and actually between the two of them get the best elements of both. That, I think, really came through in the film and gave John a really good foundation to work from, and we see it there on screen, and I think that was a key element of why the film's come out so well and been well received. To answer your question originally, so skill-wise, so I think I'm pretty good organizer and project manager, so that obviously quite naturally lends itself to being a producer. But I think, if I'm saying me personally and skill, I think I find that I become more energetic the more active and the more energy I get from other people. I never find that it wears me out or ties me down. I think when I get people who are passionate and trying to be makers and create things, that really gets me going and gets me excited. And so that's a skill that I think works really well in film and as a producer, and hopefully that will take me through into other projects, hopefully with some of these.
Well, I was talking to you outside before, and you got a hell of a passion for it. So yeah, absolutely, I echo what you're saying. That's brilliant.
Thanks.
I think my thing is I problem solve, which I think is a very big thing in the film industry. As much planning, as much pre-production as you can do, things always happen. And my thing is, and John knows this, we've been in situations where we've had to completely re-script the day of, or different situations where there is no, prep that you can have, and just I try and be as quick thinking and as imaginative as I can on set with what I can, because obviously costumes, you've got what you've got. There's not much wiggle room there, but it's just that, on one of the first things that I did working with John, not as a director, I was going to, the lighting guy and be like, can I take your t-shirt? Would you mind if I borrow your shoes? And I do this quite a lot on set, and you'll see just people just being like, yeah, here's my really old smelly t-shirt, and I put it on an actor and I'm like, yeah, it looks great. So it's just that, like, having to think in the moment and work with what you've got, that I think is quite important, especially with like low budget films where you can't just run out and spend loads of money on wonderful, beautiful clothing, and you just have to sort of really think on your feet and come up with something.
Is there any one thing in particular from these projects that you can think of that, like, you're trying to come up with a quick fix that's never going to work, but actually it completely did, and it just made everything a little bit better? Is there anything you can, like a madcap kind of situation?
I can think of one.
We always had issues.
The sauce on the first day.
The sauce on the first day? Why?
The house as well. The reset on that.
Oh yeah. Well, there's always that issue of
Well, I can't remember.
Well, getting blood in clothes and stuff.
Just getting blood in clothes
that's
everywhere. Yeah, that's always the thing.
Just like we always forget, like when it comes to costume designs, when we have our meetings, we just always forget about socks. And we do a lot of horror films, which means a lot of close-up of like feet when they're walking on creaky floorboards. And then we realize, someone's wearing like luminous yellow socks or something weird, and it stands out a little bit. So there's been a lot of that problem solving you've had to do quite quickly on the spot.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. But also just messaging cast, especially, it's so lovely when we work with friends or I know everyone before, to just be like, hey guys, can somebody find like a really specific pair of boots or a really specific, and somebody always has in the back of their wardrobe that really odd like leather jacket that really works for one character, and they show up. And when there's blood, I have to be like, John, this is someone's jacket. Like, this falls on me, please don't ruin it. Or there will be one dress and I'll be like, John, you have one shot, which obviously is not the pressure that John needs at the time, but I'm like, get it right.
I'm a one-take director anyway.
I bet.
What happens in that first take is what would happen naturally, so we just...
Oh, we've never had any issues though.
No,
you've
always
nailed it on that
one-take situations.
Yeah.
Now you've said it. Well done.
Yeah.
Great job, guys.
Yeah, we've jinxed it now. Yeah, it's always worked out.
And particular traits and skills that you bring?
I think it's similar to what people now have already said about teamwork, and I think the passion for it, and just rocking up, being hardworking, and being a nice person to work with. I think that's my main thing. Just be there early, be open-minded, and what I love about indie is that the end product, to know how sometimes it's messy or you can't, pay for everything, but at the end it looks so good because everyone put everything into it, and that's what I love about it. The hard work and the passion, and that's what sometimes later down the line goes missing when you've got bigger budget and so many people having an opinion on stuff.
Yeah, it prompts creativity, doesn't it, on the spot? You come out with things when you don't have a budget, and Emily hasn't mentioned it here obviously now, but you've also got a film in the festival.
Yeah, I do.
So you've definitely gone through all the different areas of experience doing indie filmmaking.
Yeah.
And on that's a really good segue, by the way. You should be doing this. On that, we all wear not me, but you guys will all wear various different caps when on a film set, especially at this level, sort of like editing, prop design, all that kind of thing. What's everyone's favourite cap? What's the most gratifying part of making movies?
Start that in this time.
To be honest, it's so when I directed my short film, I felt I wasn't directing, and that was the moment because it was just working. And I think it's a weird thing, you know, when you're in tune and everyone is doing their thing, and it just, you can feel it. It's like synchronicity, and you're like, and that's when I'm like in the flow. So it's not really wearing a hat; it's just being part of a collective. To sound a bit wanky, but it is kind of, sorry, but it is that collective, and sensing that. I love that.
It's a good vibe to have, though. It's what they call movie magic.
Yeah.
To sound a bit wanky.
Yeah.
I'm mainly costume, so I've only really worn one hat. But I've always been, it's always been sort of like encouraged to always work with the person next to you, kind of going back to what you were saying about just be a nice person and just help the person next to you, even if they are like sound. Like, I know nothing about sound, but if I can tell that, you know, he's moving cables or whatever and needs help, like, just be that person. That's just always happy to help if you have a second. As well, when I was studying at Pinewood, my teacher was like, if you're cold and you're hungry and you're miserable, so's the person next to you. Like, it's not this, oh, I've got it worse than everyone else. Just like help and be part of every department if you can. As you know, as you said, you work so much better when you're happy to just like fit in where you need to be.
So tricky on a gratifying moment. So I guess for me, in the making of this film, the most gratifying moment, there was a lot to do, obviously, organising everything, getting everything in the right place at the right time, or 2 hours late, and making sure everyone was fed and everything had what they needed. But there was one moment where I'd done all of that, and I sat down and just literally watched a scene being filmed and the different takes, and there was just this surreal moment when I kind of looked around and there were all these people doing all these things that I'd had an idea for, you know, some time ago, and it was just, I kind of just stepped outside myself for a second, and I just thought, this is bizarre, you know, just completely surreal moment. So for me, that was when I felt like I was in this like immersive filmmaking experience, and it was amazing. And then seeing it with friends, with the crew, with my mum back at the film festival that I had the idea originally, they've been the moments that have really like stood out as been the best parts of the journey.
I think it's just always, for some reason, surprises me seeing something you've written, like a blueprint, come to life, and for people to understand it and to get it. And it's a bit of an obvious thing, but a lot of time is spent, you know, on your own writing, being in your own head, and I love that space so much. But then I'm almost pleasantly surprised that, oh yeah, that actually got made, and people got it, and they made it better. It's just a blueprint, and it's important, but you know, I know that it's serving its purpose, but yeah, it's just a massive privilege for people to bring something from your head or someone else's head to life.
Well, try not to forget as well, the end product that is up on the screen does look amazing, and that's fantastic, but it started somewhere. So don't sell yourself short.
But to come back to, and to know that, and to be quietly proud, that's my take on it.
Don't be quiet.
Loudly proud.
Just
go for it.
Everyone's different, but yeah, satisfying.
Yeah, see, I hate that headspace for me. I can't be in my own head for too long. It sucks in there. So I love, that's kind of the reason why I love writing in the way that I've done it with John and with Hayden and other people. As Hayden was very accommodating of, but we tried, I think it was only the one day, but we did, Hayden came into my world for a bit and we wrote in the moment together, both sat at the computer, which...
2 or 3.
Yeah, well, it was a couple of times, it was. And it is difficult for a lot of people, whereas I am a person who just builds off of other people. I bounce off of them. You give me something, I can bounce around in my head for a bit, and then we can work together on that. Whereas if I've got to sit in front of a computer all day by myself and just stare at a screen thinking, well, how am I going to do this? And there's no one else there to even remotely give me a bit of information, I struggle a lot more. So I do love the writing, but the best part for me, the most gratifying part, is doing it with other people, and in general the teamwork for on set and everything else, but for writing specifically, having John there, having Hayden there, having someone with you in the room that's just excitedly coming up with that story is where it's at for me, definitely.
Yeah, I think I've got to echo the sentiments of just like being on set. Getting to set is already such a journey, and there's more journey after that. Getting your film edited and seen is also a huge task, but being on set, getting to set, there's nothing else like it. And even if it goes wrong, I used to compare it to like, even if you're having the worst day on set, it's kind of like having a bad holiday, because maybe you've lost your suitcase or something like that, and then you go through your holiday of one pair of underwear or something, but when you get home, the memory is good. Like, you went through so much and you bonded with people and whatnot, and like, it doesn't matter how bad things go on set. And they don't always go bad. I sound negative. No, it's a good thing, and it's always great fun problem solving. But you always remember it positively, even if it doesn't go well. So just getting to set, getting to play in the sandbox of tools and kit and with actors and whatnot. It's great fun.
So with that, one of the questions that I always tend to ask is about the creatives being able to tell me everything that's wrong. You'll have heard the question a million times. But this year I've been kind of retconning it a little bit, and I want to know, when you do watch it up on the big screen, what's the best kind of responses that you've been getting with your shorts? What's your favourite audience reaction that you've seen? It could be an audience in a cinema, or family and friends, anything like that. What's the best reaction you've had to these shorts?
I'll start.
Don't all jump in.
No, it's fine. No, we'll do it in order. We're organised. Because both of these films have a little bit of like comedy in them. One Star Review has a much darker sense of humour. The Milk Situation is much more explicitly zany. So just anytime there's a chuckle or something like that, I'm sold. And that's kind of because these are not like, I don't know. It's harder to gauge reactions when you do something like, when it's about the suspense. Like with One Star Review, there's a lot of long moments of like quiet suspense and whatnot, and it's hard to really figure out if the audience is reacting, because those are the moments where they're the most quiet. So it's always it's tricky, that, but getting a laugh is always lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it is tricky with One Star because it isn't something that is outright funny. So there's no kind of big reaction. It's more of a thriller than a horror. So there's no big kind of moment, big jump scare, anything like that kind of is going to get your visceral reaction. But I think it's the talking to people in general afterwards and kind of getting that little bit of feedback and chatting to people and saying, yeah, I love this bit, love that bit. You kind of think, okay, it's not, in your head you're always going to think you can see all those problems, but when people do point out little bits, you're like, oh, yeah, I guess that's pretty good. Yeah, fine. So I think that's, for me, just the chats afterwards have been really lovely.
Yeah, I think the tension, seeing people actually feel tension and suspense, and then the payoff, and the other side of it. I was worried that it wouldn't come across tense enough, and it would sort of lull or dip after a very intense start. And John did a great job of trimming down too much fat, really. So the tension and then, I don't know, conflict or action payoff, third act, I think it works. So seeing people kind of get that, and the dark, subtle humour, maybe one or two will get it, and even that's good.
So I love tension in films. The more the better, the tighter the better. And I agree with Hayden. I love the way it starts and then it goes down, and then I think one reviewer said ratchets up the tension, and I think that's a perfect way of describing.
What a word!
And it perfectly describes actually how it works. And without giving any spoilers away, I love the ending too, because it has a bit of a roller coaster moment where you kind of get a touch of it again, and that I always look around knowing what's coming and trying to see what people react, and I never see the reaction, but I know that it's going on inside, because you just you feel it, as I did and as I do each time I see it. So that's the bit, and I think, as all filmmakers or people involved say, is when people come up to you afterwards and say they enjoyed your film. Whenever anyone says that, it's just such a I really appreciate it, and it really makes a difference. So obviously the applause as well is helpful to give a general audience feeling, but it's really nice when someone comes up and says, and I really like that bit when that's the thing where they appreciate it. It's good.
I haven't seen One Star Review on the big screen yet, so I'm really excited of seeing people's reactions on it as well. I mean, as an actor, it's more when people pass you and they're like, oh, it's you. It's like, yeah. But then also that they think you're that person when you know, if you play someone who's a bit horrible, then they look at you and it's just that sense of like, oh, you're a horrible person. You're like, no, I'm an actor. So, and for my own short film I have a jump scare and I wasn't sure if it's going to work. And so I was sat behind the audience and then the person in front of me literally jumped out of his seat and I was like, yes, it works. And you don't know until you see it. And that's really satisfying.
That's that moment where you just go bosh and walk out.
One of the other skills that I think I bring is that I try to make sure that we don't miss our own screening. And it's in 3 minutes.
Yeah, it is.
With my producer hat on, I think.
It is. So, last question, I'm going to wrap it out, and it's the puppet question, because I've been loving asking this question all day. What movie, classic movie, would you remake with puppets? Each of you, one answer, and then we'll go.
With puppets?
Deep Throat.
Yeah.
Oh, God. If we go there.
Me? You want me to start?
Yeah, you
okay,
start.
I don't know.
Got to be quick, you've got 3 minutes, come on.
Okay, a Serbian film.
Oh, wow. That's dark.
It won't be if it's Muppets.
Still a rom-com, though.
Oh yeah, we'll make it rom-com.
Yeah, it's got to be some like dark thriller, hasn't it? It's got to be. Oh God, I can't think of one. But I don't know if it's one, but it would be a dark, like just the dark, most like ridiculous thriller you could think of. But like played completely straight, but with puppets, and just let an audience see what happens. That would be.
Say low.
Yeah, that would be it.
Goodfellas.
Oh, wow. I do like that. Because we are creating a puppet festival. Right, guys, 1-star review. Oh, yep.
No?
You've got one.
Oh, God, no,
I saw that look in your face.
Absolutely not.
Come on, you watch that.
I have no idea. Kind of following, I was more thinking like what film you would think, like Inception with puppets, or like something really bizarre, but like, or really like straight and, you know, sort of serious film, but with puppets. And it's just like
layers
Inception.
of puppets, a puppet within a puppet within a puppet.
Yeah, actually, like really bizarre.
Yeah.
But no, that was I was more trying to figure out what you had in your head rather than what I would.
I mean, that's a scary place to be fair. So, guys, 1-star review starting in a couple of minutes. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing these shorts to our festival and letting us show them. Thank you for sitting down with me today and doing this. I've absolutely loved it. And I look forward to seeing what you guys do in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
you.
Thanks for screening.
Well done, team.